Hello, welcome to the Basketball Soapbox, Season 2, Episode 2. This is a very special episode. I have a person who I've been talking basketball with for probably about a decade now, since high school. 2K days, 2K drafts, rosters, franchises, watching playoff games, etc., etc. A guy who I chop it up with a lot. Melz, welcome to the show.
Everybody, thank you for having me, my friend. It's good to be able to do this with you. We're definitely going to have a good time.
Yeah, for sure. But unfortunately, I did not intentionally wait until after the Lakers lost today to talk about the Lakers. But let's get straight into it. What's going on with the Lakers? They're starting off now 0-3, just in shambles, it looks like, to start the season. LeBron in year 20, Anthony Davis trying to come back and get into a groove, and Russell Westbrook basically just being inept, putrid, whatever you want to call it on the offensive end, man. Like, what are your thoughts on your Lakers?
I mean, I would hope that it's not another down year to start. That's one of the biggest things. But the way how they've gone 0-3 so far, and then to lose that game not too long ago by 2 points is sort of like doesn't feel. I don't have the greatest feeling right now being a Lakers fan, but I'm still here. Yeah. So
no, go ahead. Sorry,
it's a little tough right now, but I think they will make the playoffs to start off from there. It's granted it's a bad start right now, but it's still early. It's still early. We've seen teams not start off the greatest and be able to keep it going and going into the months after All-Star break, they sort of turn it up a little bit. But it's disappointing.
Yeah, it's rough. Like, and I'm a Celtics fan. You're a Lakers fan, and of course, I want to shit on the Lakers. I want to call them out, but I'm also a Russell Westbrook fan, and to see him be this bad shooting the ball, not looking confident, not playing up and down. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't want to hate on my guy, but I hate the Lakers. You know what I mean? So like, I'm as a diehard Boston Celtics fan. It's like I gotta shit on the Lakers, but it's like it's tough seeing Russ do that. It's tough seeing LeBron in year 20. It's tough seeing Anthony Davis at times looking. Since last season, people wanted him to be aggressive, not looking like he's fully living up to his potential in LA so far. Of course, they got the bubble championship and people already kind of shit on that a little bit, but we haven't really seen that AD since then. That the dominant force inside, being a dog inside, being aggressive, and now we're seeing him settle for jumpers. Like it's definitely a tough watch. As of course, again, as a Celtics fan, I want to see y'all lose. That's just the honest to good truth. You know what I mean? Like I want to see y'all suffer, burn LA, all that stuff. Like of course, I want to see y'all struggling, but watching the basketball, it's like holy hell, man. It like watching offensive possessions for them is like, yo, it's tough.
It's really tough because, like how you said, AD hasn't been the AD that we've known him to be since the bubble championship. And they still do get a lot of flack for the bubble championship, but the thing that people sort of fail to understand is that everybody sort of played in a situation that was there. They played in a situation where they were away from their families for a point in time. You're not able to really go really anywhere. So they were sort of confined in that one little space while they are out there in Florida. So that's a whole nother conversation, you know. But
yeah, my opinion on the bubble was always that for the Lakers, like everyone played underneath the same situation. Like if the Boston Celtics won a championship, I would be, oh, that's a bubble championship or it doesn't count. I'd be like, yo, these are young guys who went down in the bubble in a tough situation, away from the families, et cetera, and got a championship. It's a championship. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, that doesn't count. You know what I mean? So, like, in the grand scheme of things, I thought it was fine for the Lakers. I'm like, I'm not going to take that away from LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like, they went down there and they won. They did what they had to do. Everyone played underneath the same circumstances, but going from that, this roster, talking about their roster, they kind of went away from what got them there. The 3-point shooting, the defense that was on that roster with KCP, Rondo, Kuzma, like the other guys there. And now it just seems like a bunch of athletic guys that just don't fit. There's no spacing for LeBron or AD, and it's a mess right now.
It's sad to say it, right? But like how you said, you're absolutely right. Where they kind of went away from having that particular like defense on the wings and things like that, and even just having just like a real floor general. Having Rondo at that particular time was probably one of the best things that they could have ever done. And since then, you've had the Russell Westbrook experience. I won't say
which has been a roller coaster.
Yeah, I wouldn't say experience. It wouldn't say experiment, but experience. And recently getting Pat Bev. Granted, I love Pat Bev in terms of like his will on the defensive end. But
that's why he's in the league.
Yeah, that's why he's still there. That's why he's as relevant as he is. That's why he was able to go on ESPN and talk with JJ Redick and Stephen A. So,
which was entertaining.
It was really entertaining. I love Pat Bev for that. But the biggest thing is that, not taking nothing away from him in particular, but the Lakers have been adding on pieces that don't really help them out on the offensive end. And that's been one of the biggest things, because with LeBron getting older and with AD not, having his spurts where he'll be healthy 1 minute and then literally he just,
like he fell in the
opener.
Yeah, he fell in the opener right on his back, and everybody was like, "Yo,"
right away.
Well, yeah, like it's just like it's crazy. Like I always say, stop wearing low tops. That was always my, how I'm like basketball superstitious. Like, yo, stop wearing low tops, man. Like, yo, get some sturdy sneakers that you can be like rough and tough. Like they had Rasheed Wallace as a coach for a little bit. And I'm like, did she give him the forces and that's why they fired him? Like, he's like, I'm not wearing them strap things, man. But nah, man, like, it's just been tough, like, to see Anthony Davis, a person that who I, like, in New Orleans was calling top 5 in the game. Like, yo, I love his game. I love what he does on both ends of the floor in offense and defense, protecting the rim. He's able to be mobile on the perimeter and defend. His offensive game, he was hitting his shot in New Orleans, being aggressive, finishing at the hoop. And it's just like, we see bits and pieces of that, but it's like it's so stagnant. It's so it comes and goes for the Los Angeles Lakers, where it's like we need you to be the franchise guy now, especially LeBron getting older, and not really much else around this team. It's like we got to rely on Anthony Davis, and at times he looks like he's able to do that. Like he'll have good starts to games, and then he kind of just struggles throughout the game, selling them for jumpers. I don't know. Can I share this? I don't know if this is going to be able to work, but let's try it the first time. Like literally, let me see if I can pull this up. I didn't do this on purpose, but I do have it. I do have it in the background.
What is this?
Come on, load it. Like it's a clip. It's a clip of Nurkic not even looking at it. It's literally a clip of them not even acknowledging Anthony Davis shooting that ball. Like that is crazy. Like,
can they hit 2 in a row?
Ooh. It just looks bad. It just looks bad. And it's like, yo, what are they going to do? Like they're not even looking to run out to Anthony Davis because they know his percentages are so low from out there. Even Anthony Davis having struggled shooting. I can't remember. I think they hit 9 of 30, something crazy today. But they've been crazy shooting from the field from 3. And you can see that they're trying to do it early and often to try to boost their offense. And it's like, yo, what's the game plan here? And it's funny because they lost these games close. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the Clippers game was close. The Blazers game was close. So it's like, who they play the other night?
They played Golden State in the opener.
The Golden State game, even though they lost by double digits, their defense looked good. So to see their offense just be you can tell it's the offense, it's the spacing, it's the 3-point shooting that they just don't have against these other teams. And it's like, damn, man. Like, so It's like, what are they going to do? Like, what's their options? And I'll go into the next segment. Like, what are their options? In my opinion, free Russ. Let him go, please. For the Lakers to see y'all lose, cool. I'm fine with that. But in terms of Russ' sanity and his career, free Russ for me.
I mean, I was a big proponent of when they initially got him, and me and you even spoke like off air, like literally, I told you that it wasn't going to work, and I still don't believe it's going to work. It hasn't been working. It's nothing personally against Russ because I know Russ is a high caliber player. He's won MVPs doing it. He's broke records doing it at a high level. The problem is that the system currently in terms of who's the primary ball handler, it doesn't work in this particular situation because Russ is, we know Russ to be, granted, he can give us an assist here, an assist there, and average a triple double. But that happened to be at a time where he was playing by himself or he happened to be the main guy of the team. So that's been sort of like the thing where he's sort of like he's the third option if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
He's the third option.
This season has been Lonnie Walker.
I'll give it to I believe that was a good pickup for them to pick up Lonnie Walker. But it's just that we sort of lack that. We need another veteran there besides LeBron because like how I said beforehand, LeBron's in year 20. We're going to have him for a few more years, but the only thing is I don't believe, or just my thought about it, I don't think LeBron should be the primary ball handler in all actuality. I think he's kind of not wanted to be the primary ball handler for probably the past.
I mean, I think
7 years.
I think in terms of that, I think you want LeBron with the ball in his hands for the most part, but you need scoring around him. You need spacing around him. Even Anthony Davis, when he was in New Orleans, they had shooters around him. That's how you build around these guys that are ISO, that can get to their own shot, be that dynamic offensively. But yes, LeBron in year 20 probably needs another ball handler at times to help him out, run the offense, get the offense going, be able, and I think most importantly, be able to shoot, spread the floor, be able to get their own shot. It's tough to be able to, even though Anthony Davis is a high caliber player, all-star, he can get his own shot. The rest of the team, Anthony Davis is not a playmaker like that. He can pass like that. But when you're passing to guys that are not able to knock down shots, not able to create off the dribble, it restricts the floor on them. So LeBron doesn't have the spacing to get easy shots. Anthony Davis doesn't have easy shots. So that's probably why Anthony Davis is taking all these shots, probably trying to open up the floor. LeBron's even taking a lot of threes early on the past 2 years. So you know they're looking for spacing. You know they're looking for somebody to knock down a shot. And it's like, you guys just don't have it on this roster constructed-wise. Like, you guys don't have it.
No, not at all. And I think there's a few things that I think should happen. Number one, I think they should look for another option in terms of who they're going to have at point guard by starting off by seeing what trade offers they can possibly get for Russ. I also believe that Anthony Davis, granted, he's been playing the 5. He has the size to play the 5, but I've always sort of said he's not really a 5.
He doesn't want to play the 5.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play the 5. So that's another. Like, I think that they should find a way or to, find some options where they can they can move AD back to his natural position, which is that power forward, and try to get a big man that can sort of help him out down there. Because in a way, we've seen the Lakers win championships and during like the Kobe time, like after the fact, where it was like a twin tower setup in a way. Where you had ball. And that was one of the biggest things because, granted, we had Bynum that had really bad injuries, but having Powell next to him was able to preserve him in some way. So I think that's sort of like the same situation that's sort of taking place with AD, where he doesn't have that guy next to him. Granted, he has LeBron, but LeBron is sometimes on the wing, and then sometimes he's playing down low. That's sort of like the thing with that. Now, in terms of like having some sort of like spacing and spreading, they have to definitely figure that out too, because they don't really have anybody else there that they can really trust if they was to drive and kick and pass out. Because when you drive and kick and pass out to Russ, it hasn't been going down. When you drive
you're passing out to Pat Bev. You're
that's
passing out to
not
Juan Toscano Anderson.
Yeah,
You're passing out to Lonnie Walker. These guys that can't knock down shots. I think they need the trade everyone keeps talking about and mentioning is Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, the 27 and 29 Lakers picks for those guys and Russ to just move that and get Russ out of there. And while I don't think that, I think people have been down on the trade and stuff like that, but I think for the Lakers in terms of what that adds to them, you get two guys that can shoot. Miles Turner and Buddy Hield can shoot, spread the floor, open up the floor. You can run pick and roll, run pick and pop. Miles Turner comes in, he can play the 5 and deal with a lot more bigger bodies in the West and East. That moves Anthony Davis back to the 4. So it's like, okay, we can see where that trade makes sense. But on the flip side, if I'm Indiana, I'm like, why am I putting this trade through for you guys? Why am I helping you guys? And I've said to people, I'm like, the 27 picks, 29 picks, that's 5-7 years away. Who's to say the Lakers at that time? LeBron's most likely going to be retired by that time. Yeah. Anthony Davis is either going to be with or without the team. What direction is the Lakers going to be? They're going to have cap space. So who's to say they aren't going to be reloaded? You know what I mean? By that time, that's 5-7 years down the line. They can probably tear it all the way down and probably have cap space to lure people there to make sure those picks aren't as effective. But who knows? I mean, so I think that's an opportunity that people are looking at. And I'm like, I think Indiana can probably get better deals for those guys individually as the season goes on. Like Buddy Hield is a potential starting 2 guard in the league. He can knock down shots, and that's what playoff teams are looking for. I think his contract's around $20 million or so. You get a guy that can knock down shots. That's valuable to playoff teams. You can probably get 2 first-round picks for him, et cetera, whatever the case may be. Miles Turner is a big, he's going to be sought out at the trade deadline and stuff like that. So their options, it's really tough. And it's like everyone's kind of waiting for this Russ shoe to drop for them. And I'm like, I don't know if that shoe is going to drop this year. Is it possible they can go into the offseason because, they've been linked to Kyrie Irving? Is that already a done deal? And that's probably what they're waiting for this season, just to get through the season, keep their picks, and then sign Kyrie Irving in the offseason. Is that what they're planning to do?
If they are able to sign Kyrie next season, that changes everything for them. Because now you have a guy where he doesn't have to be put in a position to where he has to be set up to score. He can go into his own bucket. And we've seen how that was able to work with him and LeBron in Cleveland.
They got to the finals 4 times.
They made it to the finals multiple times, and Kyrie also happened to be the one that hit a big shot for them at the time.
Won the championship.
That was something I believe that was something that LeBron always wanted, even when he had the Heat days. Getting Ray Allen for him was probably one of the best things that's ever happened to him.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Because he'll probably have one less championship if he didn't have Ray Allen. We'll just be honest. I would be lying if I was to say I didn't want to trade Russ.
It comes back to that, and everyone kills LeBron for that, basically okaying that, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but people forget, when the details came out, Ramona Shelburne, I always get called the LeBron defender for this stuff, but Ramona Shelburne came out and said the Lakers didn't want a deal. They offered him a 2-year deal. So I'm like, all right, so you guys on that flip side didn't want DeMar DeRozan, who's probably had the best stretch of his career after San Antonio right now, after that stretch in San Antonio and falling out like that. So to have him looking like he is in Chicago, and it's like, damn, you guys really needed a guy that can get his own shot, get 20 points a night, really carry his own on the offensive end, especially in those situations where LeBron doesn't have it or AD doesn't have it. The one thing DeMar DeRozan has been able to do in this league, whatever we think about his playoff record or whatever the case may be, his performance in the playoffs, he's been able to score in the league. Like he's a plus 20 point per game scorer. He's able to get buckets. Like he's doing that right now for Chicago with Zach LaVine and that offense over there. So it's like to think that you guys wouldn't offer him a 3-year deal. And that held up that deal, and then he went to Chicago. It's like because every single time they talk to DeMar DeRozan, he's like, "I thought I was going to LA." You know what I mean?
Said that. He's like, "I thought I was there." Pretty much is how.
Yeah, like every single interview when they asked him over the offseason, he was like, "I thought I was going to LA." But yeah, it's just like we don't know what's going to happen with them going forward in terms of piecing that together. Like. Again, they want to trade for play. Of course, teams tanking wanted to offload assets at the end of the season. Utah, San Antonio, potentially Indiana, even though Indiana looks good right now. Houston, all these teams that are probably going to try to tank and get rid of players, trying to drop out of the play-in when they realize they don't have it. Lower seeded playoff teams might be like, "Yo, this ain't it. We might want to restart." Whatever the case may be. So they're basically playing the waiting game. And I said to somebody, I'm like, the Lakers, in order to even have a chance this season or in terms of just making the playoffs, they have to at least hover around 500 until they get those assets to salvage anything of the season to trying to turn it around. Right now, they're 0-3. and that's a really bad start for Lakeland. You know they're going to be going crazy, especially with the Clippers looking as strong as they did. Yeah, it's looking really bad for them right now. And I'm like, I don't know what options they picked. Like, I even thought of a crazy option. I was like, if Portland looks terrible this year, is Dame a possibility? And I know that's crazy. This is just me brainstorming. I'm like, is Dame a possibility? If shit's looking terrible, even though they won today, if shit's looking terrible in Portland, like, is this the end where Dame Lillard's like, all right, man, I'll accept the trade somewhere, and Russell Westbrook, money off the books looks a little bit more accessible to Portland. That's just a crazy idea I have in my head because I'm like, Dame is from Oakland. LA is close. I'm like, I know I've heard reports like he doesn't want to leave Portland. Like he has his family set up there with a compound. Like he's straight in Portland, kind of similar to Bradley Beal in Washington. Like they don't want to leave.
Which
like,
is another person, that was another person LA could have went and tried to get to. But,
and I said the year they got Anthony Davis, I was like, yo, they should have just waited. They should have traded for Bradley Beal and then just signed Anthony Davis in the offseason. Like you probably would have had to give up less to get Bradley Beal than to get Anthony Davis at that time. And I'm like, yo, that was just me talking out loud. Like, yo, you can just trade for Bradley Beal, probably give up a Brandon Ingram, give up a Josh Hart, but keep Kuzma and the other guys and stuff like that, and not lose all your assets, not lose everything. Like you didn't have to lose Lonzo, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the Lakers just was like, yo, we're going all in. Let's go get Anthony Davis. Let's make sure we get Anthony Davis. And they went and got him. Cool. But it's like, damn, like that's another, like, now we're just thinking about other missteps by the Lakers and stuff like that. And it's like, damn, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's tough, like watching the Lakers play right now. And it's like, despite their defense looking good at times, it is just like, yo, their offense is like, I don't even know where their offense is. It's probably one of the worst in the league, like right now, how it looks.
It possibly is. It possibly is. Because it's like they don't have the shooting. They barely have the interior presence. LeBron is doing his step back, and it works sometimes, but then I think some people starting to figure out, or they still really don't trust it either. So it's
like he took that shot today, and he missed it at the end of the game. I'm like, he should have went to the basket there. Of course, so he's always going to get criticized. It's LeBron. So it's like, yo, you should have went to the basket at that point, you know. But he tried it today, and it did not work. Not work.
It's definitely disappointing to see, but I believe that they will be able to make the playoffs. Like how you said, they do have to hover around 500, I believe. But the West is wild. It's always been wild.
Yeah. Like there's no, like I said it to somebody. I'm like, where like potentially an injury to Anthony Davis or LeBron James. I'm like, yo, they are in situations where they can't afford to miss 5-10 games on the season. Like those two guys can't afford to miss it. It's like, yo, you guys might go 0-5, 0-10 during those stretches if guys are out. Like they can't afford to do that right now. And it's like there's no LeBron is in year 20, 38 years old. Of course, he's playing at a high level, but it's like, yo, he can't carry this team. It's not 30-year-old LeBron. You know what I mean? Where he would have just tried to figure out a way and just been like, all right, I'm just going to muscle this through this and power everybody and just be elite. He's still going to be elite some nights, but it's like, yo, man.
82 games, man. That's it. It doesn't seem long compared to other sports, but it's a fight. It's a fight.
It's definitely a grind. Definitely a grind. Like, yo, like he's 38 years old. And then it's like, of course, like there's always the catch, like, yo, he's doing things at 38 that we probably never seen other players do. Like we see Karl Malone, Kareem, other guys that play well into their old age, but not at this level. So more is expected of LeBron at this point, I guess. But it's just like, yo, man, sometimes like, yo, he can't do it every night. That's where I'm like, we need Anthony Davis. Well, not me. They need Anthony Davis to step up, and
it's okay for you to say we. It's all right.
I get talking basketball, but they need Anthony Davis to step up. They need some type of shooting around them, and it's like, yo, they're getting killed right now, and it's like I don't see it. I don't see an answer for them right now. Like they should have just tried to get as many 3-point shooters as they can in the offseason. They kind of didn't. Like they got guys that were streaky shooters, and it's like now it's like it just looks bad right now. First 3 games in.
I think even though when I think about some of the players that they could have went and got, thinking about it off the top of my head, they could have went back or did it a double take and went and got KCP again. They could have tried to work out to probably get Danny Green again. Who else? A 6-man of like Norman Powell. Like there's a bevy. There's other players out there, real good playing like role players that I think that they could have went and got that they just didn't choose to do. And
yeah, they just didn't get it.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of been like the issue with like the Lakers for like the past like decade, where it's like they will literally just go after players and overpay some players to where they don't really have money to really dish out to other players. And then I think they're just, they're ignorant to the fact of like, hey, we're gonna just rock out with this particular, set of rosters and we'll figure it out. But it hasn't really worked for them other than the bubble championship.
Yeah. It's looking grim.
It's looking like it's going back to the dark days. It's definitely going that's for sure.
The dark cloud over crypto.com centers gradually moving in. But yeah, we can wrap this one.
Yeah.
Oh, why did I do that? All right, now we're moving on to my team, the Boston Celtics. Off to a great start. A big win in Philly, the first opening night of the season. Going on to face, I forgot who they faced now. Damn it, why am I forgetting shit? They went down to Miami, a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Big tough win down there, and then they get a nice win in Orlando yesterday. Down Al Horford. The Celtics just off to a fast start. I'm loving the way they're playing, starting the season. It seems like they're playing with a lot more pace, which I was begging for last season. I was like, they need to play faster to create those easy opportunities in transition for the defense. And it looks like that's been an emphasis in the offseason with Ime Udoka before he got suspended. Joe Mazzulla stepping in and taking over. It looks like that was the emphasis this season to really turn up the defense on that end, get steals, create easy transition baskets, and play with a pace and play with a speed that we've seen for the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, I'm definitely not surprised. I'm definitely not surprised because they definitely, after their run last year, and one of the biggest things that I did definitely notice with the players when under Coach Udoka, where the beginning of the season last year, they didn't struggle, but they sort of had some time where they were starting to get adjusted. Once they adjusted to that type of system and they actually believed and bought into what Coach Udoka was bringing, then that's when they took off. So I'm not really surprised as of right now them coming into the season and being like as hot as they are. And granted, they do have a interim head coach currently, but I think with Coach Mazzulla and from so far so good, what I think he's going to bring to this team is sort of the same system that Udoka had in place already.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely see how it goes, but I'm definitely not surprised that they're off to a hard start right now.
I was surprised just simply because, the whole thing with Ime Udoka, I'm like, you don't have your head coach, and now you're bringing this guy. Kind of similar to last offseason, but Ime Udoka actually sat on a assistant coach's bench, been around the league a little bit. So you're like, okay, you have a different understanding of what he brings. Joe Mazzulla has been assistant for a little bit, kind of in the background of the Celtics organization. Mm-hmm. And Danny Ainge, I believe, was trying to take him to Utah with Will Hardy, and Boston was like, nope. We're keeping this guy, and he ends up now on the front lines of their coaching staff. So to see that, it's like, okay, they have some trust and familiarity with him. I can understand it from that standpoint, but it's like from the Celtics standpoint, I thought, of course, the Ime Udoka situation was going to take him back a little bit, but also the Rob Williams injury, the Nino Gallinari injury. Yep. These guys, Dino's gone for the season. Rob is probably gone until January. I was like, I don't know how our defense is going to be on the front line. And so far, so good. Their offense has been able to pick up, again, playing with a faster pace, creating easy opportunities where that lack of rim protection in those situations probably doesn't affect them as much if the defense is playing at this high of a level with Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon, Al Horford still there even at age 36, so – and you're just seeing that, and it's like, okay, like the first 30 games, I'm like, I want to see how this offense is going to be, because last year in the playoffs, of course, over the history of the Celtics, especially with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they get stagnant. They don't get easy shots. Like everything is work for them. Everything's hard work for them getting, especially late in games, over the course of stretches in games. And it's like, how is this offense going to look over the first 20, 30 games in the season? Is it going to get stagnant again like last season? It's like that doesn't seem to be the case, where their defense, they're creating those easy opportunities.
Yeah, that I think one of the biggest things for them picking up Malcolm Brogdon was probably one of the best pickups I've seen.
That was actually one of my segments.
Yeah. And that leads us right into it. I think them picking him up, solid point guard, can literally control an offense, and I think that was something that they were missing for the last few years, and I think that's probably what's going to help them the most in terms of how their offense is going to be ran this particular season. So now,
yeah, you can go.
So I believe them picking that pickup right there is definitely going to help them out. And I see where it's like, where it can sort of help out Tatum and Brown also sort of preserve themselves as well a little bit and not have to work as hard. Because you sort of seen they worked themselves really, really to the core last season, all the way up to the finals, where they showed spurts of it, like during the finals where they couldn't miss. Once you sort of run out of the gas and you play against a team like Golden State, which can fire off on all cylinders and things can change that quick. That was one of the biggest things, I think. But I think them picking up Brogdon is definitely going to help them out for sure.
In terms of what Brogdon brings as a person who can dribble, pass, and shoot, defend at a high level, and gives them different lineup options in games, in terms of you can play him and Smart together. You can put Smart on the bench, like if he's in foul trouble. You can rely on Malcolm Brogdon to step in and run the offense. He's a better offensive player than Marcus Smart, honestly. But in terms of what that does, Malcolm Brogdon just agreeing to come off the bench, be the sixth man for this team, basically what it does is it strengthens our backcourt, where last year teams were picking on Derek White. Teams were picking on Peyton Pritchard. Like, Derek White's offense has been nice this season, but it wasn't like that last season, like where he would have spurts, like kind of like you said, like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He would have spurts where it looks really good and then it looks really bad. But I think Malcolm Brogdon boosts our backcourt. Like, it raises the ceiling of that backcourt and that bench, where last year you were just relying on those guys to be shooters and space the floor. Now you got a guy that can actually create, get his own shot, defend at a high level. He's not going to get picked on defensively. Like, he's a solid defensive player in the league. He's been a part of the 50-40-90 club from the field. Like, he has a resume that other guys don't have. Probably guys are not. He's actually ran a team. So to have that addition where it's taking the playmaking duties off Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, it's a huge win. I thought it was a big win when they signed him. People around the league like it, and I thought it was just a win from day one. Like, when they made the acquisition, the trade, I was like, we traded Naismith and Tice and a couple of our last standing players on this team for Malcolm Brogdon. I'm like, oh yeah.
I'll take it. That's another player that the Lakers didn't even bother to look at.
Yep. just add another player that probably would have been perfect. A guy that can defend, shoot, and pass.
And the kind of player that Malcolm Brogdon is, he can damn near play on any team. Like, you can sort of place him in there, and I think you can definitely figure out a way for him to work in that whatever system. So it was a hell of a pickup, and I think that's definitely gonna preserve your superstars.
Yeah, the only question that they had is the knee injuries and stuff like that. Like, he has a terrible track record with injuries, so maybe that's why people were a little maybe hesitant to put him in that full-time role. But for him to land on the Boston Celtics as a sixth man, if they want to play small, especially when Rob Williams comes back, you can put Tatum at the 4, Brown at the 3, him and Marcus Smart in your backcourt and not lose a step defensively. So to look at that from that perspective and have the different lineups of what he brings to the Celtics, it's like, it's crazy. Like,
it's funny though, because I believe that he should start and that Marcus Smart should come off the bench, because Marcus is going to bring.
Hey.
The only reason why I say that is just because granted, right? You need more. One of the biggest things that was sort of like lacking in terms of like their benches, like having a dog that came up.
Yeah.
And I think Marcus Smart think about it in a sense where it's like Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year as a starter, and playing along with the other two guys. Now, if he came off the bench and was able to control the offense somewhat, not in particular situations where he's causing turnovers, pretty much losing games in tough situations. I think him coming off the bench and him bringing his dog and his mentality off the bench along with those other players can definitely fuel them to sort of themselves as well. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think Brock.
No Marcus Smart. Hey. But I mean, Marcus Smart has worked his way. He wasn't a natural point guard. He worked his way into that role last season and stepped up for the team. In terms of what you're saying, in terms of Malcolm Brogdon starting, I think ideally that would be it. But I think the injury history, wanting to preserve him, but I think he fits right next to Marcus Smart in terms of if you want to make Marcus Smart an off-ball guard. Like, their defense is not going to lose a step in the perimeter. Like, you're not going to score as easy on them. And Malcolm Brogdon I think, again, he just has a different skill set than Marcus Smart, a guy that's actually a fluid offensive player, whereas Marcus Smart kind of worked his way into that role and just being a 3-and-D creator guy type player in the league. So Malcolm Brogdon is just a more natural fit into that position. But I think what the Celtics are doing, they understand, hey, we can't lose Marcus Smart, have him on the bench where he feels like he should have a bigger role in the game. And I get it from both sides, but I'm a Marcus Smart stan. I'm a big fan of him, so I don't want to. He just worked so hard to get that, and then Malcolm Brogdon come in and take that. I don't think that's going to be good for chemistry. But in terms of what he brings, I think that Malcolm Brogdon just initially coming in his interview said, like, hey, I'm going to be the sixth man. I accepted that role coming in here. I understood my role coming here. For him to do that kind of takes the pressure off of that for the organization and Marcus Smart. Like, yo, you still the guy here. You're still the emotional leader. Like, we're going to let you be that. But Malcolm Brogdon was kind of just like your backup, kind of like your partner basically in the backcourt to hold you down, especially if things don't go right for you guarding these guys out here. If you get in foul trouble or anything like that, don't be alarmed to continue to be that aggressive guy on defense, because we now have a backup for you that can take off the pressure off you if those situations arise. But let's talk about the growth of the Jays. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown coming out gangbusters early to start the season. And instantly, I'm like, the first thing I've noticed, they're getting to the basket. Like that's the first thing I've noticed over the first couple of games. Like they're getting to the basket, they're finishing at the rim, whereas in a couple of of course, over the course of their careers, they've always been criticized for settling for jumpers, not being aggressive, not getting to the line. And it seems that doesn't be the case. That doesn't seem to be the case this season, where they are actually attacking the basket, getting in transition, and using their strength and size and athleticism to finish.
Yeah, they definitely picked up where they left off.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Where it's like now they've had their experience in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
They've had time to reflect on what they didn't do better.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done better. And granted, I think they also, those two particular guys this year are going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder because of the situation that just recently happened with their coach. You know, and they still got work they got to do. So even though you won't have your coach for the whole entire season, I anybody would know, like, there's going to be conversations that they're going to be. They definitely probably call Udoka on the phone after and talk to him all the time. So and it's not like they're not going to have any type of contact with him. So I think they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder, and definitely you're going to see them play. They had a hell of a year last year, but I think that they possibly may have a better year this year as well.
I thought they were going to get off to a slow start. I thought Philly was actually going to be the 1 seed, but they've been like hell. But to see Boston come out this way and not have Robert Williams, kind of like the defensive anchor, the rim protection that we've kind of always needed through the past couple of years and stuff like that, and to see his impact last season, I'm like, yo, I don't know how it's going to start off. I had the Celtics finishing third, but I had them winning the title. Like, I have the Celtics winning the title. We'll get into that later. But just in terms of what they've built off of, like, when you look at their core, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford coming back last year, coming back to this team. And it's like, when you look around the league, like, whose core has been together longer outside of possibly Golden State? Like, when you look at teams like the Clippers, they got together 4 years ago. LA got together 2 years ago. Brooklyn just got together 2 years ago. They're probably Milwaukee probably has the core the longest with the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. So it's like there's a chemistry and continuity there that came from past years, and now it's like we're finally hitting our stride and where this potential of this team has been for the past couple of years, where in 2018 we were like, hey, we're going to win the title. We have those injuries to Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward. 2019, it's like, all right, we got all our guys back. We're going to win the title. And then there's just too many mouths to feed. 2020 in the bubble, Gordon Hayward gets hurt. It's like all these little setbacks. And then we finally get 2021, Jaylen Brown breaks his wrist. It's like, damn, like all these setbacks to this team. And it's like last year finally breaking through and getting to the finals. It's like, okay, now we're in the right terms of progression with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like, these guys, after it, they can both get 30 a night, play high-level defense, and now to create these easy baskets in transition, the way this team has the backup in terms of Malcolm Brogdon, Grant Williams is off to a hot start. Blake Griffin just getting another big body in there, being able to like gum up the works, what he's going to be able to bring potentially to this team. And like, if he's healthy throughout the season, if he can be another big body, it seems like he's trying to be that energy guy. Noah Vonleh's giving us good minutes in that position as the big man right now. Yep. And it's just like we're just waiting for Rob Williams to come back. Dino Gallinari is probably not going to come back this season, but potentially next season, whatever the case may be. But it's like this team is built to make another deep playoff run, potentially win the finals.
I definitely do believe that they can definitely make a run again. I definitely do believe that. I just think I don't believe that Missoula could possibly push him through. I think them not having Udoka when it gets to like the tough, because I kind of already figured how they're going to be able to play throughout the season.
Yeah.
Into those playoff games where it starts. My daughter's calling me. That's funny. When you get into those playoff games and when you start having, your the game 5s and the game 6s and possibly game 7s, that's where I need to see where they're gonna thrive. If they're either gonna thrive or they're gonna fall back. Mm-hmm. So, you're
wondering about if Joe Mazzulla is going to be able to make those adjustments.
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest. That's going to be the biggest thing because playoff basketball is completely different from the regular season. You can do whatever you want during the regular season, but then when you got to run into certain teams and you got to play 2 games at home and then go to their home and play 2 games, it changes.
Yeah, for sure. Like playoff basketball, so everything slows down.
Yep.
The one thing I've counted on for the Celtics is their defense because that's what turned around their season last year. And to see these guys get off to that start like that and be able to hold it down. But I'm just more impressed with their offense, how the pace they're playing with, the efficiency they're playing with that hasn't always been there for the Celtics. So it's like those are positive, intriguing signs for them. And hopefully with Rob Williams coming back, hopefully the Ime Udoka situation doesn't set them back and it doesn't look like it to start the season. It doesn't look like it's happening. But you're just wondering, of course, this team is going to get a good high seed in the Eastern Conference, especially if they stay healthy. You're just wondering what the playoffs are going to look like when they face probably Milwaukee. They face Philly. I think they can beat Philly, but mainly Milwaukee is probably the biggest test to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference. And you're just like, can they deal with the Giannis, especially after the questions last year with Chris Middleton being out for that series? It's like everyone's kind of like, hey, you guys made the finals, but the Bucks didn't have Chris Middleton. The defending champs weren't whole. They weren't 100% healthy. Like you guys got lucky getting to the finals. There's that little underlying story that I think kind of rubbed the Celtics the wrong way, especially Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They have something to prove, and you just think, how do they look against the Bucks? Like, that's probably the Eastern Conference Finals. How is that going to look? How are they going to respond to that, especially with the Bucks being 100%? And just seeing how they're going to be against them.
Yeah, I think that's their real test because now,
buddy.
I think that's going to be their real test at getting down to the playoff months, where when they run into particularly Milwaukee, how are they going to be able to, if Milwaukee happens to be 100% healthy and have all their players? How is that going to go this time around is one of the biggest things, great questions that I have, because they did run into Milwaukee without a Chris Middleton, which the year when Milwaukee won, Chris Middleton was cooking with fish grease.
Yeah.
So
he was stepping up big time for them, knocking down. He was their late game situations guy, knocking down big shots, timely shots. He was tough.
So, not having to deal with somebody that could go and get their own bucket, for amount of time is that worked in their favor. But if he comes back and he's there this playoffs and they run into him again, who knows?
Yeah, he's in a contract here. Chris Middleton, he's in a contract here, so he's looking to prove something. He's looking to earn his dollars and basically put on a show. Basically, when he comes back, he's hurt right now. I think he's out for a little bit.
Yeah,
start the season. So to potentially have Chris Middleton come back and be a 20-point per game scorer next to Giannis, who took us to 7 last year with Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday is just probably, again, everyone says this, he's one of the most underrated players probably in league history. What he does defensively, what he does offensively, even though he struggles offensively at times, he still has a pace to his game. He's not going to kill you offensively on that end, but his defense is just crazy, and especially next to Giannis. They're still waiting on Joe Ingles to come back. They have him in the waiting wing, probably to be a 3 guy, another playmaker for them, another guy who can shoot. So that's an added weapon we haven't seen the Bucks hold this season as yet. But potentially, it's like we see that's kind of like who we're eyeing. Like I don't think Brooklyn. Well, we'll get into that later. But like I don't think other teams in the Eastern Conference have what the Bucks and Celtics have, which is a consistent 1-2 punch, a consistent defense to that level of degree. And to see the Celtics and Bucks, like it's like that's kind of the matchup that we're seeing. Like that's kind of we're both along the same lines. Like they're both going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then just again the Celtics. I'm loving their offense so far as to start the season, and to see the growth and and especially the strength. Like you're seeing these guys, especially Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, just finish at the basket. Like that's the most thing the thing that I point out the most. Malcom Brogdon's pace of play, being able to get to his spots, be able to create the second unit and basically just keep everybody on their toes, and the way he moves, and just you can just see the level of IQ with Malcom Brogdon and what this team is going to be, and especially with Robert Williams potentially coming back, being a lob threat, being a defensive player like that. It's going to be interesting to see, and I can't wait for this of course to get through the playoffs, see the progression of the team. But of course, we're already looking ahead, kind of foreshadowing what the playoffs is going to be for the Boston Celtics.
Yep, I think they're definitely going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, but we'll see. We'll see when we get to those playoff months.
Yep, for sure. All right, moving on. We're going to talk about the rest of the league. Basically, kind of just run down some teams that we've been seeing over the first couple games, get into some award picks, and then move on to our finals picks, which we'll talk about. But let's start off with Brooklyn. They had a terrible opening night against the Pelicans, getting smashed by Zion and Brandon Ingram and CJ, and Ben Simmons fouling out, Kyrie Irving not looking so hot, Kevin Durant basically trying to will that team and just didn't have it didn't make a difference in that game. They move on to face the Raptors. Kyrie Irving has a big game. Ben Simmons looks solid. Kevin Durant looks like he always does. And what are your thoughts on the Nets early on?
I think now that you don't have Harden there, let's start off with that. I think last year having Harden there, he kind of gave up on. And there's probably internal things that we don't really know about that was happening that made him want to go elsewhere. Not having Harden want to be a part of the team, and then also not having Kyrie full time at the same time. Because from past conversations that I have, the Nets could be a really, really dangerous team. But the thing is, there's no chemistry there because you didn't really have Kyrie, and the reason why KD was even there was because of Kyrie in the first place. So him not being there, and KD's the straight up basketball guy, it kind of fell by the wayside last year and the year before. But I think this year, with now you have Kyrie back, you finally have Ben Simmons playing. So it's gonna take some time for him to sort of get adjusted to being back in the basketball groove and the shape and everything else. But I think that they'll definitely make their playoffs this year for sure. So I think they had a little bit of they had a bad opening night, but I think that they could have a decent season. They definitely do.
I think their offense is going to be great. Like, they have Kyrie Irving, they have Kevin Durant. They have Ben Simmons, who's a playmaker, at least in that sense. They got Steph Curry coming back. They got Joe Harris coming back shooting the ball. So this is the perfect situation for Ben Simmons. A perfect situation in terms where his skill set can get showcased in terms of playmaking, defending. But I think the issue with this team is going to be defensively because they're a little thin up front. They lost Bruce Brown. They brought in Royce O'Neal, but it's like, Bruce Brown did all the little energy things for that team last year, even in the playoffs, even having a good showing there. So to sit there and look at what their offense is going to be, everything I think falls on what their front court looks like with Nick Claxton, Ben Simmons. Like, Ben Simmons fouled out in the first game playing center. So it's like he fouled out in the preseason against Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So it's like those matchups are going to happen. Like, teams have bigs in the league. So how is he going to adjust to that? How is he going to be able to survive that and navigate that? Coming back off a layoff like that last year where there was an injury with back surgery and mental health and all that, how is he going to come back and fit into that void of basically having to be the five? And it's like, not every team is going to go small. Like, teams can stay big in this league now and punish you. So how are you going to be able to play that five position and hold up defensively? And then if you foul out, they put in Nick Claxton. Obviously, the Nets are at a disadvantage there, especially with offensively. Defensively, he's a little thin up front. So it's like, what is their options in terms of maybe potential free agents? Like, is Dwight Howard an option? Is DeMarcus Cousins an option? Just to have a big body out there for at least a couple minutes to battle some bigs night to night, because I don't think that's gonna. I don't think they looked at that as an issue. And now, early in the season, I think they're going to be like, "Hey, that's an issue that we're going to have with Ben Simmons up front."
Yeah, I think they're definitely. I don't think having Ben Simmons be year 5 or even 4 is really working out in the long run.
Like, we know he needs to be the point guard.
Yes, in all actuality, he should be the point guard. He should be the ball handler. But having Kyrie back there is probably not going to really work out, because Kyrie does need the ball in his hand to be able to get his buckets. KD, it's one of those players like how we spoke about Malcom Brogdon earlier, where it's kind of like you can put him anywhere and he's going to be able to.
You can pen him in for 30.
That's it.
Like, unless shit all goes wrong and he's off that night, he's going to get 30. So
yeah, but my biggest thing is that, having Coach Nash there, and how he sort of utilized KD the last few years, where he kind of overplays KD in a way to where it comes down into playoff time where he's sort of gassed out.
Yeah, that's because injuries and stuff like that to their team, not always having everybody back, not relying on your bench. Yeah, he definitely does overplay Kyrie.
KD definitely does get overplayed. So I think hopefully this season that's not something that he does, now that your core is together now, and then some of the role players that you were missing, like a Joe Harris, is now back. So I kind of want to see how that's gonna work out, and it's as the season. Sure. So we'll see.
And Joe Harris, he's struggled in the playoffs. Like he's struggling in the playoffs, but there's more offensive flexibility around him with Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Kyrie. So you basically got two guys who can get their own shots, and then you got two sharpshooters and a guy who can play make. It's just how Ben Simmons, that front court, not only is that front court going to be defensively, because they, like Kevin Durant, they've slid him down to the 4, and he's been able to hold his own and been able to be a shot blocker, contest, and play defense. But it's like, at this stage of his career, you don't want to wear too many minutes during the regular season of him giving it all on the defensive end. You kind of just want him to lead the offensive end, and then maybe pick it up on the defensive end in the playoffs, and really kick it up into a high gear and kind of not wear him down over the regular season. The way it looks, if Ben Simmons keeps getting fouled out, looking bad, having bad nights, because it's gonna take a little bit for him to get acclimated and get back into the swing of things. We already know he's a great passer. He's a high-level defender on the perimeter. But against those bigs night to night, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, we all know the real reason why he fouled out against the Pelicans, though. But
we can talk about the Pelicans next, because we can get into that. Brandon Ingram with the fro. CJ McCollum has been you're a CJ McCollum guy since Portland, so we know in off air how you feel about him, how his presence is, how his scoring acclimate is. But that boy Zion, I don't know if I can get shoulders or arms like him, but that I can't remember who it was, but he went in the paint and shouldered somebody, and they went like flying 10 feet. I'm like, oh, he different. We saw that. Of course, we saw that over the first 2 seasons, but it's like, nah, he's a problem for this team, especially how they're currently constructed with CJ and Brandon Ingram and Herb Jones. It's like the Pelicans look good.
One of the things that I've noticed when I seen him pregame, how his body looks, and I literally said, Oh no, people are in trouble. We thought we was in trouble initially when he came in the league, because he's able to do all these things on the athletic side, where it's like big, strong as hell, plays defense, he's fast. So, and now that he's came back and he's actually in shape, and he's not just in shape, he's like in chiseled shape.
It's like Giannis level types of physique, like strength.
So we don't usually see bodies like his, but you have seen particular players. You've seen Karl Malone was that way.
Mm-hmm.
You have Dwight Howard that's that way. You have LeBron that's that way. You had Boozer at a point in time. Boozer was
early on,
in shape too. So to see him come back and be in shape and him kind of look like he hasn't missed a step.
His explosiveness off the ground to go get a ball, like go get a rebound, challenge at the rim. That like everybody kind of like built around Giannis, like, hey, we're just gonna build a wall and just hold it down. Like you kind of have to start doing that, but you like against him. But it's like, like he's pushing dudes 10 feet back, like off a post up.
It's bad though, because even when people were like building the wall around Giannis, people started. Mm-hmm. You want your starting center to get elbowed in the nose or in the mouth, or in the eye.
Fouled out, like
or fouled out. But I think trying to do that with a player of Zion's like caliber, and like I said, has looked like he hasn't missed a step, and all of his points came from the rim. Just
he's getting to the rim, like you can't stop him from getting to the rim. Like he has enough ball handling skills to get to where his spots are. Like he knows how to get to his spots, like already. Like you're not going to stop him from doing that.
Yeah. So that's definitely a thing to watch out for. And if he's able to develop that jump shot even more, and because he's still early on. He's still early.
Yeah. That's what we forget. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like people are like seeing him how he is right now, back in shape, and how he played these, that first game, and they're kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. Like as good as we think Kevin Durant is, like he's not ready to guard Zion, like strength wise. Like you know what I mean? Like he's going up against fours that like because most teams slide small forwards down to the fours today, like what we consider the small forward even like 5-10 years ago. They're now sliding down to the 4. He's playing the 4, being bigger, more athletic, more strong, pushing these guys out the way. Like you have to prepare yourself to guard him. And then not only that, you got Valanciunas next to him, who's a big burly guy who can get double-doubles. Like it's not an easy night to go against the Pelicans.
I tell you one thing. Tatum better not be playing the 4 when they run it.
I don't know who. I guess that's why we got Blake Griffin. Like, yo, go out there and try to be big.
Go take them shoulders from that. Right there, man.
I don't want Jason Tatum in the paint against Zion. Like, nah, let's not do that.
Forget about that. Don't even try it. But
on the perimeter, but once he starts getting you in the post, double. Like let's not waste no time. Like,
that's also a good thing about how the Pelicans are presently, like how they're structured, where if they do happen to double and they do create like a wall or a barrier for Zion, he has people out that he can kick the ball to.
Yeah, so, CJ McCollum
having
is able to knock down a shot. Valanciunas can knock down a 3. So yep, they're tough.
Yeah, they're definitely tough. And like how you said earlier, I'm a really big fan of CJ. Anybody that's gonna be watching this, you might hear me say it. And I actually said it earlier during the show, where I say something. One of my biggest things with somebody that can just get a bucket. They cook with fish grease. That is who I started saying that with, was particularly CJ McCollum. And he's just one of those guys that sort of he can hit the shots, he can get his shots off. And I think in that playing in Portland early on in his career, it was good. But I think now being with the young boys and having some sort of a veteran presence now, definitely helped them out, and he's definitely gonna help them out in terms of their scoring woes as well. So
because he had to be the number 2 in Portland, but you saw his offense at times be number 1 level. Like he can go get 40, he can go get hot he can get hot in the game and get basically guide your team for a quarter or 2. Like he's capable of that. But now he's in New Orleans with these young guys where he's able to. I think he understands that Zion and Brandon Ingram are the best 2 players on the team. How can I fit in? How can I continue to basically guide these guys along because he has the most playoff experience on that whole team. So for him to come into that situation with those two young studs there, with that prowess and that offensive prowess, and basically just having them, they can create mismatches every game. Basically, they're scary in the West. Like I had them, like when I first was like a month ago doing my rankings and stuff like that, I had them in the play, and I'm like, I don't know if Zion's going to be healthy, but like right on before the start of the season, I'm like, this team is. I was looking at their roster, I'm like, this team looks good on paper. This team looks fucking tough. Like we know the league is tough, probably the most talented it's been ever, top to bottom. But it's like looking at this team, what they have, the ability to rebound, the ability to play defense, the ability to score, most importantly, from every position on the floor. Like Herb Jones can knock down a shot, be athletic, get to the rim, but mainly a big defender for them. So it's like looking at this team, I'm like, they're firmly going to make the playoffs. They're firmly going to make the playoffs. Like
I don't see anything less from a playoff appearance this year from them.
Like, and we saw last year where they made the play-in and got into the playoffs and gave Phoenix a little run for their money early on, and it's like that team just added Zion, So that's going to be crazy. But let's keep moving on. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard coming back, John Wall coming back, Paul George coming back. The depth of this team with Reggie Jackson and Terrence Mann and one of the Morris brothers. I forgot which one is on that team. I think it's
one of the twins.
One of them. One of the Morris brothers. Luke Kennard. Kawhi coming back, looking stronger, looking crazy in shape. They're bringing him back slowly to start the season. Ty Lue has been one of the best coaches in the league since Cleveland. His ability to make in-game adjustments. What do you think about the Clippers so far?
I think the Clippers look good so far, and I'm also really happy to see that John Wall is back, and he looks comfortable.
Yeah, yep. That was the first thing I noticed when he checked into the game and instantly knocked down a mid-range jumper. I'm like, oh, okay.
he looks comfortable. He looks like he's in a situation where he wants to be there, and the organization happened to want him. They actually took a chance to go and get him. So I think this year you're going to have a good year for John Wall, I believe. As long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think he'll.
That seems to be always the question mark with the Clippers. Can they stay healthy? Paul George going down last season, having shoulder injuries. Kawhi Leonard with the legs, basically load managing, all that. John Wall, Norman Powell broke his foot early on to start when they traded for him last year, and then he came back. Yep. And it's like, can this team just stay healthy? And it's like we've been waiting for. I did an episode in the past called The Battle of LA. It's like we've been waiting 4 years for this. Our team's going to finally be healthy. He had injuries to LeBron and Anthony Davis and stuff like that, Kawhi, Paul George. And it's like, are these teams going to be healthy where we can actually see them? And especially the Clippers, where on paper, they're probably one of the most deepest teams in the league. They have shooting, they have playmaking, they have 2 all-star players, 2 top 15 players, top 20 players in the league with Kawhi and Paul George. They're definitely in position to make a run in the Western Conference, and it's like this team has so many different lineups, and especially if you get the John Wall even any close to what he was in Washington and playing with that speed and attacking and knocking down his shot, if he's able to knock down his shot, it's like, yo, this team's crazy. This team's crazy good. I think they need another big in the back, like to go with Zubac, another backup big, but they look primed and ready to go.
Yeah, no, I think they're definitely gonna be a issue this year in the playoffs if healthy. That's for sure.
That's the biggest question mark.
Yeah, so that's what it mainly comes down to, because you've had Paul George go down, you had Kawhi go down last year. We sort of seen like how everything played out for them the last few years. So, it's definitely good to see all 3 of them back, and John Wall be in a particular situation where he feels comfortable and happy being there so far. So yeah, we'll
be talking about the Clippers.
Yeah.
Healthy. What I mean?
This won't be the last time we speak about them, this team. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. moving on, let's get into the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid looking out of shape to start the season. And just ironically, I joked on another podcast I was on, Mr. Vincent podcast, that James Harden coming into the season in shape and Joel Embiid out of shape. It's like, yo, Joel, you cannot be out of shape if James Harden is finally in shape coming into a season and playing like he's had. He looks like he has that burst that he had in Houston, not like he had in Brooklyn where he had the hamstring injury and all that. This team has looked bad starting off the season, but, well, what are your thoughts on Philly? Like, how are they looking? I had them as the number 1 seed, but now I'm like, oh, boy.
Well, you from past conversations that we had over our, our friendship, where I've never put any stock in the 76ers. I just don't do it. I'm not gonna do it this year. And it's crazy. You've made the point where you have Harden and Embiid literally trading places. And it's kind of crazy to see, but it, in a way it's like it's a little disappointing too, because now that you have Harden back in mainly basketball shape, and your star number 1 player is currently not in shape, it's kind of, it doesn't make me feel too, it doesn't change any extra.
Yeah, it doesn't make you any more confident in the Sixers. Yeah. I was sitting there, I'm like, yo, like, I don't know if he had an injury or whatever the case may be. It's like, dog, how you look like he looks tired. Like, it's like, yo, like, it doesn't look like he's in these games where they're playing a fast pace up and down. They've been in some grind games. You're getting double teamed, but this is nothing normal. This is nothing different for Joel Embiid getting double teamed in the paint.
Yeah, no.
Making decisions. You're still looking slow to deliver the ball. You're turning over the ball. You're looking out of shape. You're looking tired. It's like, yo, like, why does James Harden, who we've questioned his work ethic coming into the season, like he works on his game and stuff like that. Yeah. But it looks like he eats hamburgers in the offseason. Like that's what it looked like the past couple. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. Like it looked like he was like, yo, fuck it. I'm drinking wine, in the strip club, all that types of off-court activities that we've seen him on Instagram and stories that we've heard about James Harden in Houston, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like he comes into the season looking like he's prime shape. Like I can't remember who there was an NBA player that said I didn't know how big James Harden was until I guarded him. Like he's chiseled, like he's tough, like he's a bull. Like you said that over the course, like he's big, he has burly shoulders, he's strong as ox.
Yeah, so he's a big dude.
To see him finally in shape and coming into the season and basically against that in the Milwaukee game, really like, yo, I don't want to lose this game and bring them back. And then just to have Joel settle for jump shots, like Stan Van Gundy was on the broadcast, like, yo, this is not what Doc Rivers wanted multiple times down the stretch, like where Joel Embiid was settling for jumpers. And it's like, yo, you cannot come into this season like this, especially with James Harden looking as good as he does. The potential of Maxey from last season, you still got Tobias Harris. You added PJ Tucker, Daniel House. Like, so you have shooting around you. You have a team. You have another guy that can go get you 40. It's not a Ben Simmons situation where you're worried about somebody else carrying the offense or having to score. You have a guy that can do that, play make. Maybe his defense is in question. Maybe that's the trade-off there, the defense. But it's like, yo, you need to be in shape this year for James Harden for you guys to even have a chance to be in the playoffs or make something happen.
Yeah, because now you don't really have an excuse. The Ben Simmons era is over. He hasn't been there. And granted, when they made a trade, to get Harden and everything else, and we sort of seen how that worked going after the trade and everything else. But now, brand new season, Harden's in shape. You have your players that was already there. You have Tyrese Maxey that's there. You have a core of players that you could make some sort of a run with, but now not having your star player be in shape, or let alone really even care about what's even happening. It's starting to sort of make me remember like the time where it was the trust the process. And the tanking part of the Philadelphia is like era. So I don't
where
know.
he's out of shape, where he looks lackluster, he looks fat, doesn't look like he's chiseled. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's happening. Like, what's going on right now. Maybe he possibly had an injury that we didn't know.
Yeah, that's
about.
what I'm thinking. Maybe something happened and they're not disclosing it. They're not talking about it. Maybe he's working his way back. Whatever the case may be, but
yeah,
this doesn't, for a guy who's been complaining about not being liked by the media because he's not winning MVP. He doesn't know what to do to get it. You coming into the season out of shape, that's not going to help your MVP chances.
Yeah, like it was different when Shaq was able to do it because he had he had Kobe right there where it was like he was like, all right, well, I don't got to come back in shape. All I got to do is just all I got to do is just jump and dunk and get rebounds. But I got this kid over here that's going to be able to do this, that, and the third. That's
literally kind of the situation they are in. You know what I mean? Like different stages of their career and stuff like that. But it's like you have a guy that can go get 30. Like you don't have any more excuses right now if you're Joel Embiid. Like you have a team around you. You have a number 2 guy, a guy that can be a number 1 on most nights. Why are you out of shape? You're supposed to be this guy who I picked him. I think he's going to win MVP. That's what I thought. But now coming into the season with that, looking at a shape, it's like it doesn't look like you're committed to the process and bringing a championship coming in out of shape. Like that's a big no-no. That looks bad for them.
Yeah. I've never put any stock into
it.
Yeah. I just can't do it. Any time when I've there's been teams that have proved me wrong in terms of it. Like Boston proved me wrong, a few times, and I don't really see them making like a really big run this year. I think I think
everything has to go right for them, and especially Joel being in shape.
Yeah, I think they'd probably see the first round, and that's probably about it.
Oof.
Yeah, I don't see them.
They get to the semis. That's another second round exit for Joel. He's never been to a conference finals, and they've been close a couple times. Especially we know the Ben Simmons situation last year, 2 years ago. But it's like, you gotta get over that hump, and especially in the Eastern Conference with the Boston Celtics, how they're looking. You couldn't beat, even in the game the other night, you couldn't beat them without Chris Middleton, the Bucks. Those are the 2 teams you're going to have to see. It's 1, 2, and 3. To me, in some variation, it's 1, 2, 3, Milwaukee, Philly, Boston, whatever variation. At some point, y'all going to see each other. You're going to see one of these teams in the second round, and you don't look even close to competing with them.
I don't even think they stand a shot against Miami.
Yeah, Miami has shown, hey, we can dissect y'all. You know what I mean? We saw that last year in the playoff. Granted, Joel Embiid got hurt, but it's that's always been a underlying theme. He gets hurt at random times. James Harden has times of history breaking down in the playoffs. You might have a tough matchup against Cleveland. Cleveland has 2 bigs, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell. They just added.
Yeah,
You have these other teams in the Eastern Conference where I think they can handle Brooklyn. That's an advantage for him where he can be in the post and get his points and get his touches. But in terms of other teams like Miami, even Toronto, we saw them give you guys trouble. Milwaukee, Boston, it's not going to be easy. It's you guys should be at the top tier, basically being even with Milwaukee and Boston. You're kind of in the mid tier, and you're probably on most nights you can be at a disadvantage against those other teams.
It's gonna be tough for them. It's gonna be tough for them. We gotta get it together, man. We gotta get it.
And PJ Tucker was yelling at them after the Owen, they lost the last night. They said that he was yelling at them. I'm like, oh. PJ Tucker's I did not come all the way here for this. No.
I won a championship in Milwaukee. I could have stayed.
Yeah. I've seen what it takes. Yeah, I've seen what it takes. I've seen what
but they got to figure it out. They got it. Embiid got to get himself back in order. And if he's able to get himself back in order, and if James Harden is in shape, James Harden has to perform during the playoffs as well. Because that's sort of been a thing that we've sort of seen from him since the Houston days, where he'll have this MVP season,
and then you fade away.
And then during the playoffs, where's Harden? I don't even think he's playing. So it's sort of
I still don't forgive them for missing 23 threes against the Warriors in 2018 and looking like crap. I'm like, that's like forever in my head. Like, yo, y'all, y'all had a chance to go to the finals. Y'all were up and just blew it. Like this.
And I remember I was speaking to you, and I was speaking to a family member of mine together, and I told both of you that they was not going to win that series, and you guys just didn't want to believe it.
Yo, they was up, man. They had a chance. They had a chance.
You guys was trying to make me sound like I was crazy and all this other stuff. And then when it happened, it was sort of like, yeah, I told you so. No sweat off my forehead. No sweat off my forehead at all. I didn't have any belief in them just because of, how, Harden's identity in the playoffs before then. So that was sort of like, it makes it easier for me to just be like, hey, I'm gonna write them off in the first round.
Yeah. It sucks, but it's like, it's probably like you guys are probably gonna have another second round exit and lose to one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference and just being a question mark, because now it's like, where do you go from here? Like, there's really no, for both of these guys, it's like, Joel, you really don't have any excuses, and James Harden, this is arguably, unless you get traded again, this is probably your last chance leading a team, getting that chance to be that lead guy next to Joel Embiid, and it's like, yo, like, where do you go from here in both of their careers? Like, you guys kind of need each other. They fit together. Pick and roll situations, setting up, shooting, the spacing on the floor. It's like, yo, so we'll see what they do. But let's move on to the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, 2-time MVP the past 2 years, leading his team to the playoffs last year and getting a game off the Warriors. Getting Jamal Murray back, getting Michael Porter Jr. back. What are your thoughts on the Nuggets?
They're definitely going to be a team to worry about now that the Joker has his go-to guy, back with him. Is definitely gonna help them to be able to get through this year for sure. Now, it's going to be tough because since Murray has been gone, it's definitely going to take him some time to sort of get back in the rhythm of playing 82 games.
Yeah.
But then also, going up against there's been, more guys that's been, coming in and starting to show themselves where, you have John Morant, you have, D Book on one side. So you still got to deal with Golden State as well. So you have Luka, which is, it's a whole nother thing. And he's came back into shape as well that we've never seen either. So, it's I definitely do believe that they'll definitely be playing playoff basketball this year for sure. I'm just not exactly sure where they will end up after, everything.
Yeah, because it all depends on the health of Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. They got the win against the Warriors the other night without Jamal Murray, but it's like, so I think that was just a confidence booster for them to be like, hey, we can win in Golden State. Like we can do that. Like they have that game underneath their belt. Michael Porter Jr. really stepped up in that game. So like Joker has his guys back, and this guy's playing like at an MVP level basically for the rest of his career, basically, because he's the ability to be that offensive hub, to be able to shoot, pass, be in the post, create for others. Like, he's a dynamic guy. Like, I just love his game. To have Jamal Murray potentially coming back, hopefully be 100% healthy, with Michael Porter Jr., Bones Highland, Aaron Gordon helping Joker on the defensive end, stepping up his offense a little bit. They added Bruce Brown from the Nets, where I thought the Nets really should have kept Bruce Brown. The Nuggets got him another energy guy. They got KCP on their team when they traded Will Barton and Monte Morris for Ish Smith and KCP from Washington. So they boosted their backcourt, especially defensively, something that they desperately needed. So I think this team is going to be in the conversation, especially with Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, adding Bruce Brown, and the Joker playing at a high level. It's like, yo, this team is built again. Like, the West is going to be tough, but it's like they can contend, they can compete with anybody, especially with this roster.
Yeah, that's definitely they definitely can make a playoff push for sure. Like
they won 46 games last year without those two, and it's like they added those guys back. It's like, yo.
yeah, and I think that's what's that was what was missing from them from last year. Not because you got to think about the year before that, Jamal Murray was having an electrifying playoffs.
Yeah, he was starting, especially in the bubble against Donovan Mitchell. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So him and Donovan was having their back to back games against each other. So, I'm definitely happy to see like when he's actually like full, like 100% back in shape and healthy. So,
yeah, and it's just like Joker just actually having some help because last year we all seen the image of him on the bench against the Warriors looking like he was about to die. so for him to have some help and it's definitely going to make a more interesting Western Conference with the Clippers and the Warriors and Memphis and the Suns. And we can get into the Memphis Grizzlies right now.
Yep.
Ja Morant.
most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
Somebody gave him the nickname Black Jesus because he got the dreads. I was like, yo, I'm stealing that. He's Black Jesus for now. He's the new age Black Jesus. Just in like the way he plays and how electrifying he is against the New York Knicks. He goes into Houston the other night, scores 40. He got his ass whipped by Luka Doncic the other night, but Memphis just able to have Ja Morant play at this level. Desmond Bain, Steven Adams, the virtual of the other guys. I really like their team, and when Jaren Jackson Jr. returns at some point during the season, I really like what they built last season, and now they are coming into the season with a little bit more swag, a little bit more confidence. Yep. Maybe they missed that opportunity last year to get to the Western Conference Finals, but it's like they're in position right now they did go up against the Warriors, and Ja Morant did get hurt, so let's not take that away. But this is basically just Ja Morant to me. Like he's adding to his game with the floaters, not getting knocked down at the hoop as much, actually knocking down the three. Like he's working on his shot. Like you can see the improvement that he's working, but he still has that creativity to explode and get to the basket and just be dynamic. Like I love watching Ja Morant play out there in Memphis.
Yeah, no, Ja's definitely. I think when we start to have the Stephs and the Chris Pauls, start to leave the game. We're gonna have Steph for a little bit longer, but we may not have Chris Paul for that much longer.
Yeah.
I think Ja's definitely going to be the point guard to sort of carry like the torch, going forward. He's more than special. He's definitely more than special.
Like he has the explosive athleticism of Derrick Rose, the swag of Allen Iverson. Like you see him be that dynamic, that enigma, that charismatic player. Like he's talking shit the whole game to players. Like he don't care who it is. Like he's going at players. He's dunking on people. He's talking shit. He's adding to his game. It's like, yo, this guy's crazy good.
Yeah, it's like, and it's like he's only gotten better since year one. He's continuing to work on his game because his jump shot wasn't the main thing, his first few years, and now he's starting to hit his jump shot consistently. He's figuring out ways to get to the basket much easily. He's got the floater. Before he was just he'll try to jump over you or jump through. So that was like his, So now he's starting to work on his game and he's getting the confidence to be able to figure out other ways to be able to put the ball in the basket. He's going to be somebody you're going to have to worry about. And when people are looking at their schedules, they know they not that legit, and they be like, "Damn, I gotta go against the Grizzlies here." You know what?
Yo, coach,
we gotta figure this out.
No, but even Memphis is looking at their team. Like they even got some. I forgot their names, but like they had this Spanish dude that was on the bench. He came in and was torching the first night. Like they got underlying guys on their roster. Brandon Clark, other guys that step up and be able to provide produce for them. So it's like that's another deep team in the West. And it's like, yo, you got the Warriors, Clippers, Suns, Grizzlies, whatever the Timberwolves are going to be, the Pelicans, Portland, Sacramento potentially. and then, like we said in both conferences, when we're looking at the both conferences, it's like, yo, 4 of these teams are going to be in the play-in.
It's hard to believe it.
It's a slugfest in the league right now. Like, yo, it's like, yo, top to bottom. It's like, that's why I was saying about the Lakers. Like, yo, they can't afford to miss LeBron James, Anthony Davis. They can't afford to miss games. They can't afford to drop team again. And especially even looking at the lower, like OKC is going to be tough. Like Utah is coming out gangbusters. Mm-hmm. San Antonio is always a weird team that's going to compete. So it's like they can't afford to take a night off. Like every game is going to be tough in both conferences. Orlando, you got Orlando with Paulo Banchero. We're going to talk about him later. You got Orlando. You got Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, like the Knicks, Detroit, like with Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, like all those guys, Sadiq Bey. Like every night there's going to be a game like, yo, we can't. And of course, over the course of the season, you're going to see teams like falter off and go back to what they were. But it's like, yo, every night you're going to be like, yo, I got to guard John Moran. I got to guard fucking John Wall off the bench now tonight. Like every night there's going to be a matchup where it's like, yo, like, like, yo, I can't imagine that shit. But like, let's keep moving on. Did my mouse die again? Nice. Right on the podcast. Come on. Just put a new battery unless you have to keep resetting this, which sucks. All right. Moving on. Let's get into our award picks. Now I can finally show our trusty Excel spreadsheet there. Boom! Mm-hmm. There you go, people. Mm-hmm. Graphics, Excel spreadsheets, data.
It's beautiful.
But let's get into our award picks here. I have MVP. I have Joel Embiid. I picked Joel Embiid. I feel bad right now 3 games into the season. Picking Joel Embiid to win MVP. But you have Giannis winning again.
Yeah. He's too dominant. He's way too. Yeah. He's just too dominant.
Like, I think it's a consensus. He's the best player in the league. Like, like I get it. Like I have him second on my list, but just the way he's able to just keep going every night. Like even if his shot's not falling, he's going to get you 15 rebounds. He's going to get you 2 blocks. He's going to get you a couple steals. He's going to get you he's going to get 20 points. He's going to get assists. Like he's that dynamic, and it's crazy. But
he's one of those guys that just don't stop. It's like he's almost in a way he's almost like a robot. He just doesn't stop.
Like he's like, especially when talking about Zion and all these guys, like he's going to put the paint on you. He's going to dunk on you. He's like, there's no question he's going to dunk on you and finish over you, and he's adding to his game too. So he struggled the first night, but they were still able to pull it out against Philly. He goes to Houston, has a big game, I think 44-12. Like it's like right on schedule. He's back on it. MVP, you have Luka Doncic on your list, and I'm assuming you have LeBron on your list just in case if they have a good season, if he's able to have an incredible season. But
yeah, and I'll explain a little bit, why I also have LeBron, part of those picks as well, because he's not that far off from getting the all-time leader in points. So I think in a way, he doesn't really have much else to prove. And I think him getting that will solidify him as, the GOAT when his career is all said and done. So I think I put LeBron in there for that reason most, for sure.
Okay. I mean, I have a dark horse. I'm probably a homer pick, whatever the case may be, but I have Jason Tatum. He's already having a hot start to the season on both ends of the floor. His scoring ability, if he's going to be this efficient, especially finishing at the basket, and especially with the Celtics potentially being first in the conference, whatever the case may be, he has a chance to win it as well. Yeah. So defensive player of the year. We both have Giannis Antetokounmpo just because I'm assuming we just know he's dominant. He's going to be at the rim. He's going to be contesting everything. He's going to be trying to guard the guy on the best team. He's going to step out. And just his impact, his production-wise, I think we both can agree there.
Yeah, that's not a hard decision at all.
We both have Joel Embiid on our list as well. You have Kawhi Leonard. Hopefully, I'm assuming that Kawhi Leonard's Kawhi. he's been one of the best defenders, especially in San Antonio. The Clippers, he's just been injured, but coming back, hopefully he can work his way back and be one of those guys to step up and be that guy. You can probably even potentially how the season goes, you can probably insert him into the MVP conversation at some point as well.
It's all based on how that health is, man. During May, from those months, those springtime months.
Yeah, just get him, he's basically on a plan where he said, hey, we're going to work our way back into the season. I'm not just going to come out and start playing 38 minutes, which is smart. You don't want to wear him out early in these games, especially with the depth that the Clippers have. You don't want to wear him out. So him ramping up his minutes over the course of the season, I think is a good idea for them, especially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We can move on to sixth man of the year. I have Norman Powell for the Clippers. I think he's that guy that comes off the bench and just able to get 20 and just be a shooter, be able to get his own shot. And I think that's a sneaky pick where I think the Clippers, I don't think they're going to have anybody in Kawhi and Paul George possibly in the MVP conversation. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think his production off the bench could be a game changer for the Clippers.
Yeah, and my pick was Malcom Brogdon. And we sort of spoke about him earlier in the show, where it's what he brings to the table, coming off of the bench and being in the particular situation that he is in Boston, and what he's definitely going to bring. I think that he definitely has a chance to actually be sixth man of the year. That's for sure.
I have him second on my list because I'm he's going to be an impactful player going forward. Most improved player, I have Tyrese Halliburton. He's scoring after leaving Sacramento, and I thought they traded the wrong player, even though I like De'Aaron Fox. I thought Tyrese Halliburton is just a pure point guard in terms of what you look at what a point guard is. He's able to pass. He's able to shoot. He's able to control the pace there. He's not a great defender, but it's in terms of what you want as a point guard running your team, I feel like he's one of the best and the youngest, and I think he's going to be able to build off last season. And, especially Indiana, where he's going to be able to get 20 and 10 a night. I think he's going to win most improved.
Yeah, I'm giving it to DeJounte. He's in a new place. He's not under I wouldn't consider it as a chokehold, but he's not under the watch of Greg Pop in San Antonio, where now he's in a situation where he's going to be able to sort of let his wings. Let his wings out and sort of just really just play his game.
Yeah.
I think him also being there playing with Trey is also going to they're going to bring a different swag now to him.
Yeah.
Atlanta already had swag, but them two together, I definitely believe it's going to be something.
Oh, it's a different level now, especially in the summer where we saw Javonte Murray get up and close with Bonchero. And that whole situation, he has a different edge to him that we didn't see in San Antonio. So it's
this is the guy that you've been the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. This is why you progressing as like that, and now you're playing in Atlanta next to Trey, where it seems to be a good fit to start the season. And it's he's going to be able to build off of that.
Yeah, sure.
Continuing, rookie of the year, I like the kid Benedict Mathurin. Right before the season, I'm this kid is ready. He's in Indiana. And he's off to a fast start, starting off the season. But he's this guy already has to pull up three. He's getting in his threes. He's getting to the basket. He's windmilling at the rim. I'm I like that kid. And I have Paulo Banchero second. Even though he can easily win it, I just went with Benedict Mathurin as a off the radar pick. I wanted to be different there. But Paulo Banchero, he looks ready as well. Jabari Smith looks like he's going to take a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I have Jabari Smith. He does have part of his game that he definitely does have to, get more accustomed to, but playing on the NBA level. But I don't see. I think, him being there with who's that? Kevin Porter Jr. So
Jalen Green.
Yeah. Yep. So I think they could definitely make some. noise.
They're going to be in a position to score a lot of points as a lottery team. So he's going to get his shot attempts. He's going to get his shots.
I think it's definitely going to happen. And I have Paulo up there as well as a possible winner.
Let's get something straight. He's ready. Paulo Banchero, he's ready. Like, we don't. We're not picking Paulo Banchero to be different or not anything like that. We're not like not snubbing him, but it's like we're just looking at different players. But we know he's ready. Yeah. We know he's in. Like, I'm just thinking of Orlando. They got Franz Wagner down there. They got a lot of mouths to feed down there, like with Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter Jr., Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz. It's like, are they like Terrence Ross is still down there? So it's like, yo, there's a lot of mouths to feed down there. How is that going to work? We know he's ready, but he looks ready, and it looks like he's already the number one guy. Like, yo, screw that, I'm the guy.
Give me the ball.
So we're just being different with our rookie of the year picks, but he's most likely going to win. He looks like the most ready. He looks like he's ready to go. Like, he's not scared. Yeah, I think he's the first rookie since 1986. Since I think Akeem. No, that's not Akeem. Who was that? I can't remember. Who's that? Is that Brad Dodger? I can't remember. But yeah, I think he's the first rookie with like 20-point games in his first 3 games. Like, LeBron hasn't done that. Like, other players haven't done that. So it's just like to see him come in and have that production early on, it's like it's encouraging for Orlando, who needed a number one guy, and it looks like he's stepping up to be that.
Yeah. And I think it's still early. He is ready right now, but we'll see how, after this year and how if he possibly improves and his game continues to get better and better and better on the NBA level. Ain't no telling.
Yeah, he's scary. He's scary good. Like, everyone was like, people were questioning who should be the number one pick. I thought Jabari Smith should have been the number one pick because I'm like, yo, his shooting and his defense is going to transition. Like, if you're able to shoot and play defense, you're going to be able to transition. But Paulo Banchero, man, that guy's good. He's good. Like, I don't Orlando start building, figuring out the team now. Don't waste no time. If you got to trade people to get rid of people and get better players around him, do it now. Like, that kid, build around him. Like, don't waste no time.
He's definitely going to be something. That's for sure.
All right, moving on to our coach of the year. I have Mike Malone in Denver. I just think with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., I think they're going to be able to win a lot of games, especially after winning 46 games last season. I think he's an underrated coach. I still resent Sacramento for firing him all those years ago when he had them on the right track early on the season with DeMarcus Cousins and those guys out there. And it's like, yo, why did y'all fire him? But he's turned it around in Denver. He's building a culture out there with Joker and having that type of talent. I think they're going to win a lot of games. I don't think Steve Kerr is going to win it, even though I think I have the Warriors number one in the West. But I don't think they're going to give it to him as a de facto. I think what Denver is going to do to increase their win total, I think he's going to be in position to win it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on the Steve Kerr route of it because he's.
The Warriors are the Warriors.
They are who they thought we were. Like, how much better or how better of coaching could you really do to that team? When you think about
unless they have another 73-9 season, then if it gets to that level, then I can see him winning it. But it's like, nah, I don't see them giving it to him.
Yeah, it's you guys already got a bunch of championships and trophies. You don't need anything else. My pick is Ty Lue because of what he's been able to do with that team since he took the reins after Doc Rivers, where he's still able to coach the team to be in the playoffs and it's granted, like, he hasn't had his best players, but
he's still finding a way.
He's still finding a way, and that's amazing to see. So I'm running with Ty Lue for Coach of the Year this year. That's for sure.
I have him second on my list. You also have Jason Kidd. Speaking on Jason Kidd, what he's been able to do in Dallas, build that team defensively. I'm like, I don't know how he's done it. I still don't know how he's constructed that. Like, Maxi Kleber is a solid defender. Dorian Finney-Smith is probably the catalyst for that on the defensive end. But to get that much defense out of this team, it's like, which you look at on paper, it's like, yo, these guys don't look like defenders. To get them to be a defensive team like that, that's crazy. But to also have Luka Doncic, I can see that in having a high win total and being that dynamic. And Christian Wood off the bench, like, he's been great coming into the season. So it's like, I can see why you have him, Jason Kidd, there. You also have Monty Williams, and you're not worried. I was worried about, like, the whole DeAndre Ayton situation, the whole Robert Sarver situation with the owner, what he's going through. So I just thought that was a lot of turmoil, but I can understand Monty Williams being there, especially I said, quick note on the Suns, I was like, yo, they need to kind of ramp down Chris Paul, lower his minutes, make sure he's ready for the playoffs, and really start building this team in terms of Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, building up that continuity and be like, yo, you guys got to be the guys in terms of playmaking, creating, being the duo on a night-to-night basis rather than have Chris Paul kind of set up everything.
Yeah, and also, you can add Bridges into that as well, too,
Yeah, for sure. Him and Cam Johnson, like, yo, we need all of y'all to step up.
Yeah.
Like Chris Paul can't keep his usage rate having to be up. You can't keep having him do everything. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, people tend to forget he's just as old as LeBron James. So
yeah.
can't continue to run him that way. Granted, he's probably, other than Magic, probably one of the greatest point guards we ever seen, play the game of basketball.
Yeah.
But he's also, over the past few years, he hasn't been healthy for these tough games. And
I'm a Chris Paul guy. Like, Chris Paul is my favorite point guard all time. Like, to see him break down last season, in the finals a couple of years ago, it's like, yo, like, he finally got to the finals, so it's like he got that monkey off his back of people saying he never been to a Western Conference. Well, he never went in the Western Conference Finals.
Yep.
Never getting to the finals. So to see that progression to Chris Paul, I'm glad he got that monkey on his back. And it's like he's at a stage of his career similar to LeBron, where it's like he can't carry it every night. Like, his usage rate can't be as high. In clutch situations, he should be able to be there late in games and whatever the case may be, but you have to manage his minutes. Like, yeah, they just can't rely on him as much anymore.
Yeah, and that's
get him to the playoffs. Like, that should be their whole mission this season.
Yep.
Build the team up, build other guys' confidence, but get Chris Paul to the playoffs where he can be a factor and be healthy for us, because he can still be that dynamic and get a shot. But it's like, yo, they got to figure it out. And I got ISO Joe Mazzulla potentially, just because the Boston Celtics, how they're going to play. If they can get to that point there of, I think they can win 50-plus games. I was talking to somebody, they were like, they're already confident saying they're going to win 60. I'm like, whoa. Let's see how they get through the winter months and how Rob Williams comes back. Let's see what they can do. But Joe Mazzulla is definitely going to be in a position to do that, especially if the Celtics do well. And I think he has a shot at it, especially if the Celtics are doing well. The whole Ime Udoka situation, for him to step in and take over this team and probably have the same success, I think he can be in position to win it.
Time will tell. Time will definitely tell.
Let's move on to our finals picks. I had my standings in the preview that I did. Color coordinated, try to be a little different. But our finals picks, I have in the final. Let me see if I can zoom in on this, because
Of course, you have the Celtics in 6.
Yes, I actually put a number on mine, unlike you. I think the Clippers are going to be able to make the finals this year in the Western Conference, just because I think they have the depth. Kawhi Leonard looks like he's going to be working his way back, and I just think the Clippers have been close, and they kind of ran out of gas in the playoffs. Kawhi's been hurt. Paul George hurt. I think it's finally going to come together. They're finally going to be able to put their stamp on it. I think they're just a little they're two wings with Paul George and Kawhi. Of course, I love small forwards in the league. I always loved that position. But to have Paul George and Kawhi on the same team, you got to have wings in this league. And I think they're going to be able to provide some tough matchups. I think they're battle tested in terms of, like, this team is building the depth they have. And I'm like, I think they need to add a big man just to help their front court depth. I think or even a Dwight Howard, just to bring in somebody there behind Ivan Zubac. But I think they're going to be there. And then, of course, the Boston Celtics building off last season, having that their feet wet in the finals, getting there at least. I think they can make an easy return because they're going to rely on the defense. Their offense is picking up. I think they're in position.
So for my West pick, I got Golden State, and the main reason why they still happen to have their core and the Splash Brothers and Draymond, and then they added.
You don't think the punch is going to affect them?
I think the punch is actually going to bring them more together.
Possibly, yeah.
Granted, it shouldn't have happened, but teammates fight all
Shit
the time.
happens. Shit
It
happens.
happens all the time, and teammates fight all the time. Granted, do they lunge punch them the way how Draymond did Jordan Poole? We don't know. We don't know because we've heard the stories about, Michael Jordan punching Steve Kerr, but the only difference was there were no cameras and social media.
Yeah.
So
Bobby Portis with Nikola Mirotic a couple years ago, where he knocked him out. So
yeah,
and they couldn't. They traded those guys instantly. Like they didn't waste no time. They were like, nope.
Bobby Portis was out. He's gone.
But I agree with you. The Warriors do have the infrastructure to weather that storm. They've been weathering the storm with Draymond Green his whole career. They're like, yo, we got the infrastructure here. But I completely understand Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman, Moses Moody off the bench. Like they have a core behind those guys to be like to sustain that and basically have options and be like, yo, we got Jordan Poole, we got Steph Curry. We know what we want to do. They still have Andrew Wiggins who finally stepped up last year.
Yep.
So it's like this team does have that depth. They have the championship run on them. I just think, in my eyes, I'm like to make it to the finals again. Of course, they had those down years where they missed the playoffs, and that probably helped them bringing back Clay. Draymond was hurt a couple times, but it's like they have that infrastructure there. But I just think the West is too good, and I think it's finally going to catch up with them, maybe. But I can understand that pick. I can understand you picking the Warriors.
Yeah,
and you got the wrong team coming out the East. But continue.
I don't believe they are the wrong team. I think they happen to be probably other than the Celtics. Give them their respect. Mm-hmm. They are.
If you respected them, you would have picked them. But okay.
I do respect them enough. But I like with the current situation with not having Udoka. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's going to where they possibly won't make it to the finals this year. Now, they still had Coach Udoka. There's a possibility that I picked them. But I think Chris Middleton comes back. Giannis has another MVP season. And, their team is together and they're healthy and they're able to win, 50-plus games this year. I don't see anybody else in the East really having a chance at beating them besides the Celtics. Mm-hmm. But my pick to go to the finals to play against the Golden State Warriors is the Milwaukee Bucks. And, I'm pretty confident in that in my picks for my finals picks. I think we possibly may see that. So
completely understandable. Get my keyboard off the screen. But yeah, I was listening to a show and they're talking about like the coaching stability and the coaching stability in the Eastern Conference in terms of coaches. Coach Bud Budenholzer is the most sturdy coach in the East right now. Doc Rivers is potentially on the hot seat with their start. Jason Kidd with the Steve Nash with the Brooklyn Nets. He was already asked to be fired in the offseason. So it's like, yo, the whole Ime Udoka situation in Boston is definitely a situation where you can look at where you're looking at Milwaukee. It's like they have the most stability right now. They just need Chris Miller to come back, and they still have Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday. We know what those guys bring to the table. They have the championship edge to them. Last year, they possibly would have been in the finals, depending on if Chris Middleton was healthy. So definitely understand why you're picking Milwaukee to come out the East, because they have that pedigree. They have the depth. They have the stability at coach in the Eastern Conference. So I definitely understand where you're coming from on that. I still think it's the Boston Celtics, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But man, this has been great. We can wrap this up. Thanks for coming on. You can anything you want to plug.
Well, first I want to say thank you for having me. On your platform, man, getting a chance to sit down and chill out and, talk the game that we love and that sort of brought us together. So, I appreciate you for that. For one, you guys can, whoever's watching, you can give me a follow on social media, Instagram per se, at Melz the Jedi. If you guys are into hats, I also have a hat page that I post hats on that I have and, mock-ups of designs of hats and things like that. You can follow me there at Jedi Brims. So
definitely with the baseball hats, pins, and all that. I've been following that. That's awesome to see. Like his hat page. I'll post the links in the description down below. All of that. That's been awesome to see you basically grow that in that community and see a different community, because I didn't even know about that community on that end. Like hats had a culture like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to see people travel and the pins and the patches and the symbols of what each hat means, the one you have on your head right there, like just to see that growth of that, because you only think of like sneaker culture, maybe fashion culture, but hat culture in terms of that, that's different.
Yeah, like, it's literally like the sneaker community. It's literally
Yep. But yeah, like it's a crazy community that I've been like, especially just following you and seeing that growth of that. I'm like, okay, and the hats, the colorways are dope. Like the symbol to each city, even retro type of stuff like video games and stuff like that we all love, basketball teams and stuff like that. That's dope to see. So I'll definitely be putting your links in below. Check him out, Jedi Brims. Melz the Jedi. Check out his pages, of course. But that will wrap it up for episode 2 of season 2. And until next time, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have you on again. Hopefully, Kari can join us next time. And let's keep it rolling, man. This was fun. Thank you for coming on.
No problem, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Until next time.